Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, my name is Ore. I am a pharmacist living and working in Ontario, Canada. I share all things pharmacy, career progression, and how you can elevate yourself as a pharmacist or a healthcare professional. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying the content. I hope you guys are enjoying the series I am going through at the moment. If you have not seen any of those videos, I definitely recommend that you go and see them before you continue over here. Now this week we're going to be talking about knowing which country to move to and how much to take with you when you're moving. Making use of some of the points that I shared in my previous videos will help you to make a decision as to which country you want to move to. I have a couple of videos where I've spoken with pharmacists working in Dubai, pharmacists working in the United States, and I think these videos will help to give you an idea of, where to move to. And North America has so many great benefits, but so does the UK and so do other countries. But one of the things I would say is looking at where you are at, your current circumstance, your current situation, and using that to help you decide where you want to move to. I personally recommend North America versus the United Kingdom for now. I also recommend North America in comparison to the United Kingdom for people coming from other countries like Nigeria and so on and so forth, simply because I really believe that Nigerians settle quicker and better in North America compared to the UK. The UK has so many different systems and laws and so on and so forth, and I think some of those things actually put a barrier to allowing people to grow fast, especially when they're newcomers in the country. But again, this is just my opinion and not necessarily a strict recommendation. I think you should look at your systems, look at where you're at, look at your family setup, and look at your goals and make a decision based on that. So when I was moving to Canada, one of the things I had to consider was what my situation would be when I moved there. So as I mentioned in my previous videos, I was moving to Canada without a job. So I moved to Canada with no job offer, nothing on the table. So I had to really think about that when I was putting together, funds to relocate. The reason why I moved to Canada without a job offer was because I still had to complete an internship, which is about 4 weeks before I could get onto the licensing register and then start to work. So I had to be in Canada to do that process. Now I could have done that process and gone back to the UK, but at the same time I needed a Canadian address in order for me to get onto the register. So it was important for me to already be in Canada before I could start working. Luckily for me, I was able to stay with family for a few months. I stayed with family for about 2 months, I think, at the most. And different people have different situations. If you're somebody who has family to stay with, that is a bonus. If you're somebody who doesn't have family to stay with, those are some of the things you're gonna have to think about when you're putting together funds for your relocation. Other things I would suggest that you consider when you're thinking about how much to bring with you will be, well, how long are you gonna be out of work for? Giving yourself enough time to actually look for a suitable job, a job that is local to where you are, and also think about things like transportation costs, feeding, housing if you don't have family to live with. Even if you do have family to live with, are you going to be contributing to any of the things within the house? How much is that going to cost? You need to think about phone bills. How much are you going to spend on a phone bill? Phone bills in Canada are extortionate. Oh my word. I remember getting on a phone call with one of my friends when I moved to Canada, and I was like, why is a phone bill so expensive in Canada? Basically in Canada, there's not that much competition, so people are able to charge you whatever they feel like charging you for a phone line. Think about travel costs. How much is it going to cost you to get from point A to point B? Are you going to take any extra courses? Some people when they come to Canada like to take some extra courses, whether that be courses to help aid them in their career and get them to a better place. Some people like to do that. So are you going to take any of those courses? How much are those courses? Are you going to buy a car? What does car ownership look like? How much is that going to cost you? I also mentioned if you're someone who's coming on a visa, a work visa, you might have to consider how much it's going to be for you to apply for another visa. So putting these funds aside is very important if you ever get in a situation where you have to apply for another visa. And I guess again, having an emergency fund is so important as well, just in case things come up, especially if you're somebody who you're coming and you have no family and you're coming with your family, you might want to think about how much to put aside for emergency purposes. The other most important thing to think about and consider is also where do you want to live? How much does it cost to live in specific areas? So for example, if you're somebody who's coming to Ontario in Canada, you might want to consider, living somewhere that it's not super expensive, but also if you're someone who's looking for a job and you don't have a car, you might want to be somewhere that's local to great transportation systems and somewhere where there are many job opportunities available. How much is housing in that area? The average rent in Toronto is super expensive. So those are some of the things you need to consider. If you're somebody who's coming to do an internship like myself, like I know in the United States, they also do a pharmacist internship for people who are new to the state or the country, and some of those internships are unpaid. Well, specifically in Ontario, those internships are unpaid. So in that 4 weeks or 5 weeks or however long it is that you're going to be traveling, how much is transport going to cost you? How much is it going to be to feed? How much do you need to budget for clothes, you know, work clothes? Are you going to bring work clothes with you? If you are a woman, are you going to get your hair done? One of the things you need to think about when you're moving is hair. How are you going to maintain your hair? Are you going to bring things with you to do your hair yourself? Those are some of the things you need to think about when you're budgeting. For me personally, when I was coming to Canada, one of my friends recommended actually coming with lots and lots of wigs. So I literally just bought like 5 or 6 wigs and just interchanged them for about a year before I was really able to find somebody to do my hair. It takes a lot of time to find someone who's going to do your hair, find someone you trust, and who's able to do it at a reasonable price. For me personally, when I was moving to Canada, I bought about £4,000 with me. £4,000 is probably just under 8,000 Canadian dollars. So it's not that much money, to be honest. But luckily, as I said, I stayed with family for about 2 or 3 months. So that really helped me because I didn't have as many costs. The thing is, I didn't have a car for about 6 months. So I was using public transport, and also I was living in Ottawa. So it wasn't as expensive as, you know, the Greater Toronto area is. So those are some things that you need to consider. I 100% would recommend bringing way more than that if you have the funds available. For me, again, like I said, I had the luxury of having family who I could stay with, and that really went a long way. Another big thing to think about is actually bills back at home. So for me, when I was coming to Canada, I still had some responsibilities back in England to cover. So financial responsibilities that I had to take care of. So I had to make sure that I budgeted or planned for those specific things. So it was very important for me to think about that when I was moving. How much is it that I need to pay for so-and-so back at home in England? Do I have enough, at least for like 6 to 8 months, just whilst I'm job searching? You never know how long it's really going to take you to find a job, and maybe there might be times where you take on some roles that maybe you don't enjoy fully, but you just want to do it for the meantime. I think some people get into that situation, and that's completely fine, but just being able to be mindful of the fact that maybe there might be things at home that you have to cover. Try and budget that. I would say one of the last and most important things I'm going to say is thinking about professional fees. When the time came for me to actually get onto the pharmacist register, the fees for joining were super expensive at the time because I wasn't working, I wasn't earning, and I had to basically factor that into my savings that I had. So being able to put money aside for professional fees if needed, because obviously without those professional fees, you can't get onto the register, you can't work and make more money. Something you might want to consider, and I know lots of people do, is maybe working as an assistant or getting a side job just in the meantime whilst you are working towards your full job, the job that you really aim for. And I think this is so important. I know some people kind of look down on some of those roles, but many people come to Canada as newcomers and they take on different kind of roles, assistant roles, associate roles, just while they are trying to find their feet. So I think it's something that you can consider in the first 2 or 3 months, maybe taking up a temporary position that allows you to work and earn money whilst you are working towards whatever your end goal is. I always recommend making sure you have enough in your savings before you relocate. You don't want to get into a situation where you're stranded or you just don't have access to funds. It can be very tough in a new country, especially if you are someone who is trying to not live on credit as well. So not getting any credit cards or loans or anything like that to cover you. You want to make sure that you're thinking about those different things. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Very short one for you today. I really hope you're enjoying the series. Let me know, how much money do you think you would budget for moving abroad? What kind of things would you consider? What kind of things are you going to think about? Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tune in every 2 weeks on a Friday, a video drops. So make sure that you come back, listen in, share with your friends, people who you think may benefit from this. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video.